Hello everyone, my name is Strom. Today's video is going to be talking about villager mechanics. So we are going to discuss different things that you can use villagers for and different things that they can provide you and the mechanics that go along with those things. So let's go ahead and talk about that and get into it. Here we have a village that is generated in this super flat world, and I'm not really going to be covering how villages spawn and the types of buildings that can be inside of those. I'm just going to be very specifically covering the villagers and what you need to know about them. So if you're looking for different types of buildings you can find in a village, unfortunately that's not going to be in this video. We're just going to be talking details about these derps right here. Helpful friends. Helpful friends. So starting here, we have the base purpose of all the villagers. Some could argue that it would be for something else that we'll get into, but primarily they were created for trading with. Okay, so when you right click on a villager that has a profession, you'll see that he offers you a list of trades. They will start out as a novice, and as you trade with them, this XP bar will fill up. Now, as that XP bar fills up, they're actually going to be able to work their way up 5 levels all the way up to master. Each level will unlock another set of trades. Sometimes they will be buying things, as we can see here. So he'll buy 24 paper for 1 emerald. Sometimes they'll be selling things. So here, 34 emeralds for an Unbreaking 3 book. Notice that we also need a book in this case. If there's any additional items that are needed in order to perform a villager trade, they will be listed in this center column right here. But this villager right here is a librarian, and you'll notice that if we go ahead and take his lectern away, he loses his job immediately because we have made no trades with him. So if I try and click on him, he's just going to say, nope, can't do it. Once I place that down, he's going to latch onto that workstation. And now I can start trading with him. But notice, it's no longer an Unbreaking book, now it's a Frostwalker 2 book. So each time that you break a villager workstation, they lose their profession and regain that workstation. That's what we generally refer to as re-rolling the villager to try and get a different trade. So now we have the Thorns trade. You also notice, even when I break that, he can't get out, even if I have that door open, because villagers are exactly too tall, okay? So they cannot fit through any space that is less than 2 tall. So there are 2 blocks here, but this trap door makes it slightly less than 2. It's actually 1.8 tall right there, so he cannot fit through there. So you can use trap doors to trap them in if you want to make a villager trading hall or anything like that. Your primary resource, as we said, for trading with villagers is going to be emeralds. Now, the thing with your your primary resource for trading with the villagers is going to be emeralds. As I said, there are going to be a few other trades that are going to require a separate item, but those will be listed in each of the advanced ones once you get there. And so I'm just going to grab some stacks of emeralds here, and we're going to do some trading with this guy. Now, once I plunked on that workstation, he's going to re-grab his profession, and you'll see now he's offering Fortune 1. Unfortunately, we don't have a book, so I can't buy this. Nothing is showing up here that I can buy. I also don't have any paper, so when I click on this, I can't sell to him. So let's get something where he is selling something to us. Okay, so now I have rolled this villager until I got a Silk Touch book. Now let's say I want to make sure that I don't lose this. If I just leave right now and walk away and come back later, he may re-roll on his own and then not be offering that book anymore. So what you want to do is you want to make sure to lock in a villager. And once you do at least 1 trade with them, so I'm just going to buy 1 bookshelf, so I've done 1 trade. As soon as he has any XP, he is now locked into those trades that he has. Okay, so if I break this, notice he no longer loses his profession. And once I click on him, he still has Silk Touch. Even if I put down this workstation and we see the green particles there, he reclaimed it, his trade stays the same. However, one thing to know is if we take his workstation away, even though he will hang on to that trade, eventually he will run out. Guys, a lot of bookshelves on him. There we go. Eventually he will run out of that trade. You'll notice it with that red X over it, okay? He needs that workstation in order to be able to restock, okay? So if I plunk that back down, when he works at it during the day, he will now restock, and we now see that that's back in stock. Another thing to note about their prices is notice that these prices went down a bit because I just did a bunch of trades with him. If you are a quote-unquote good customer and do a lot of trades with a village, they will temporarily lower their prices. We'll discuss how to permanently and significantly lower their prices a little later in the video, but you will notice that this guy has now leveled up to apprentice and he's now offering a new set of trades. So that's how you get these guys leveled up all the way to the high level master trades that are available. So a little unexpectedly, we've had another trader type spawn right here in the Wandering Trader. In my opinion, the best way to use a Wandering Trader is to make sure that, yeah, you just go. Okay, anyways, let's get back to what we were working on. So this guy right here, you'll notice he's wearing his green jacket. This is what is referred to as a nitwit. Nitwits are naturally spawning villagers that can spawn in villages, and before 1.16 in Java, we're able to spawn from villagers breeding when a baby grew up. However, in the current version of Java 1.16.5, that is not actually an option. For some reason, that was never patched out, so now breeding no longer gives you nitwits. But you'll notice this guy, no matter how many workstations I put in his pen, he will never take a job. Okay, nitwits cannot gain a profession. So their only use is going to be for breeding. Okay, so now let's talk about villager breeding. What we have here is a couple of villagers who are in a pen with their 2 beds. Villagers will claim a bed when it gets placed down, and if you have the same amount of beds that you do villagers, they will never be willing to breed because they actually need an extra bed for the new villager to be able to sleep in. So if you have 2 villagers and you want to get 3 villagers, you're going to need 3 beds. It'd be the same thing if you want to breed 10, you need to have 10 beds. Okay, so that's the first criteria in order to get them to breed. Secondly, they will need to get food. Okay, you'll see here I have bread, carrots, and potatoes. Okay, they either need 3 bread per villager in order to be able to breed, or 12 carrots or 12 potatoes per villager. Okay, so villagers do have their own inventory. They can actually pick things up. So you'll notice once I throw this bread on the ground, one of those villagers is going to pick it up. Let's do it over there. Now, another thing is if you just give all your bread to one of the villagers, that villager, when he's ready to start breeding, is then going to start throwing the bread over at the other villagers to provide bread to them as well. So here we have our baby villager. Okay. You will note that he is jumping on that bed. This is also another requirement for the beds. There needs to be at least 2 air blocks above that bed in order for a baby to be born, because they need to recognize that a baby is going to be able to jump on the bed when it is spawned. So if you have some grass blocks just sitting right above it like this is not going to count as a viable bed for a baby, because notice how he's just hitting his head as he jumps. They're going to say they don't have enough room for him to jump on a bed. So those are the 3 criteria. You need an extra bed, you need some food, and you need enough room on the bed for the baby to jump on. That's how you can do it manually, by just throwing food at them. However, you can also set off an automatic breeder system. So here we have 2 farmer villagers that are in a cell, and you notice there are some crops planted in there. Now, farmers will actually harvest crops when they are fully grown. So if you put farmer villagers with just potatoes or carrots inside of a patch of farmland, they will then continue to harvest those and grow those. And as we said before, you can use potatoes or carrots in order to breed villagers. Well, they will provide themselves with their own potatoes and carrots. Okay? The thing is if you have a farmer who has been previously working out in the field, such as those farmers we saw over in that village, they are going to have other seeds in their inventory, such as wheat seeds or beetroot seeds, and they are going to start planting those. And unfortunately, those cannot be used for breeding villagers. So when you do this type of system, you want to make sure that you have fresh villagers who have not been farmers in the past and who have been farming a field. Okay? But what we have here is we have these 2 villagers in here, so they will feed each other carrots then as they're harvesting those carrots. And you notice, again, we talked about how tall they are. He cannot get through this because villagers cannot open trapdoors, but a baby would be able to fit under here. Now, the baby thinks that this trapdoor, whether it's open or closed, that it is closed. So when we open it, the baby doesn't see that it's open, and now there's a path for him to fall down into that water down there, okay? And the water is going to break his fall, basically. So this doesn't really need to be this deep, but just bringing them away from there will work there. Now you'll notice they're not breeding any babies right now because they only have 2 beds out here. Same thing, the adult villagers, they think that they can path over to this because they don't see this as a block that's in their way, but it actually is in their way. So what we're going to do is we're going to place down another bed, and now we have 3 beds and 2 villagers. There's enough room for them to jump on one of there, and they have been supplying themselves with carrots. And so now we just need to wait for a little bit for them to become willing to breed, and they will breed out a new baby. And there we have our baby. Now, as you can see, he was going to try and run over to that bed so we can go jump on it, but he fell down into that hole. So down at the bottom of that is a little water way, and what that is doing is that water is pushing the villagers over to this corner. So over to this corner, we have some blocks, and then we have some walls. Okay, and what that's doing is it's creating this little space right here. So technically, his hitbox is being pushed over. You can see it just barely overlapping on that minecart track. When he grows up to be an adult, that's actually going to show much more, and then we can easily extract villagers one at a time out of this setup. So this is all this is it's just a little square where the water is flowing over into the same corner where we have a wall and then a solid block. And we're going to wait for him to grow up, and then I'll show you how we're going to pull him out of there. Okay, now that he's grown up, we can see how his hitbox is now actually grown a little larger. It's not overlapping any further this way, but it is overlapping a little further over here. And so now we are ready to pull him out using a minecart. Okay, so we can do this one of 2 ways. We can either do this manually with a minecart, and as you'll see here, I have just some powered rails going into a solid block. This does need to be a solid block in order to push the minecart back to us, or I have a dispenser here, okay? I'm going to show you both methods here real quick. So we put down the minecart and just push it. It's going to grab the villager as it approaches and pull him out. Let me just spawn another villager down in there to show this off. Okay. And when there's a villager in that corner, we can press this button, and we've now extracted a villager. And these guys can be sent off to wherever you need to send them. So while we're talking about moving villagers around, I'm going to show you some of the different techniques that you can use to move them and push them into very specific locations. So the first one we talked about is with that rail. We can use a similar system, and then we can just send that minecart off wherever it needs to go. Okay, so we'll just go over there. Another very popular way is using boats. So you can get a villager inside of a boat by putting down a boat next to him, and you need to have enough room to be able to do that. We'll put the boat next to him, and then when he walks over to that boat, he's going to automatically pop into that boat, as we can see there. Now we can get in the boat with him and move him wherever we need to go. This does work over land. As you can see, you can boat over land. So now that we have him in the boat, you will see that we have this set up here where I'm going to trap him in this 1x2 stall, okay? So it's only 1 wide in both directions and 2 tall. I have here this trapdoor inside this block, so this is actually 1.8 tall. Now he cannot go through that himself. However, when he's in a boat, we can force him into a situation that we want him to be in. So I'm just going to push the boat into here, get out of the boat, and come backwards myself. And you notice he is taller than that trapdoor right there. So when I break this boat, he's going to stay inside of there. Now this method, since I have a block on top of him, he is going to take a little bit of damage from suffocation because when they pop out of the boat, they go up a little bit. So I'm just going to break this block. I'm going to then break the boat. And you'll notice he is now trapped in there. Okay, I did actually need to break that dirt. That was an accident. We can now put this block back. We can put that block in there. Okay. Another thing that I like to do is to take their workstation and put it next to them. Okay, so he can now reach that workstation to refill his trades on a regular basis, and then take a trapdoor, put it up front, and break that one, and now he's trapped in there. So this is a nice preferred setup for me. You can also, if you want to, and I'm just going to cover this back up so it doesn't get out, you can leave this bottom open, put the workstation in front of him, and he will now also be trapped in there. One advantage of leaving the sides open like this is when you trade with the villager, he is actually going to give you XP. And when the sides are open, that XP can reach you no matter what type of workstation you have here. So I'm going to step back a little bit and trade with him. And you'll see XP was dropped on the ground and is able to reach us because we did that. Okay? Then you can put as many villagers as you want in a row and just kind of run down the road and trade with them. Another way you can move villagers is what I refer to as workstation pulling. So villagers will be attracted to a workstation as long as they don't have a profession, so they can walk over and claim that profession. So if I put down a workstation, he's going to want to walk over to it and claim it. Same as if I put it there, he's going to walk over to it, I break it, and then I'm going to put it in the back of this little cell here. He's going to walk in there. And this is kind of the annoying thing about workstation pulling is you got to get fast, push him in there, and then we can trap him. So now he's trapped with access to his workstation. Another way that you can move villagers into a very specific location that you want is by using water. So either with your boat or with just plain water. So I'll show you here. I'll summon a villager. They will get pushed. I've been working with you for years and never once have you done what I asked, except for right now. Are you kidding me? As I was saying, you can use water to push villagers. If you put water on the ground, it's going to flow and it's going to push them the direction you want them to go. Okay. We can then break this water. Say we scoop it up with a bucket again, and then we put the water down to push them even further. Notice they will follow the water flow. So now he's in there, and we could put down a trap door, and now he's trapped in there. This is a really easy method if you don't want to work with the boats or you have your own type of cells that you have set up that you want them to work with. That water will get them pushed right into there because you'll see he can't get out of there. No matter how hard they try to swim, they cannot swim against the current. So as long as we have that current flowing into the cell we want him to go into, we can trap him in there. Easy peasy. Now, once you have your villagers inside of whatever types of cells you want, you're going to want to be able to now trade with them. However, as we talked about before, their prices will go slightly down if you trade with them a lot, but then they will rise back up to what the original prices are. So we want to permanently lower those prices. And the way we're going to do that is via zombification. So villagers, when they are attacked by a zombie, have a chance of turning into a zombie villager. Now, this is something you may not want to mess with unless you're in hard mode because the chance depends on the different level of difficulty. Okay, hard mode is the only option in Minecraft that is a 100% chance that a villager that is attacked by a zombie will then turn into a zombie villager instead of just dying. Okay, you can do it on the other modes. It just means that if you have a very important villager, such as maybe you got a villager that's trading you both mending and silk touch, you probably don't want to risk converting that villager because there is a chance that he will die from the zombie attack. So make sure you're in hard mode if you want to do this on those useful villagers. In order to turn that zombie villager back into a normal villager, we need very specific ingredients. We need a splash potion of weakness, and we also need a golden apple. So in order to convert this guy back, first thing you're going to want to do is get access to him. You want to hit him with the splash potion of weakness, and then feed him the golden apple. You just walk up and right click. You notice after we did that, he started shaking. Okay, so he is now back into healing mode. And after a few minutes, and this is completely random of exactly when it's going to happen, we're going to see him turn back into a normal villager. And as you can see, he is now converted back into a normal villager. So if I was to now give him a workstation, so we'll give him a composter, we're going to see that his prices have now reduced significantly. So here I have a row of a few different ways that you can get a villager at a zombie in order to turn him into that zombie villager. Some of these are pretty simple, such as just putting them in the same room together, letting the zombie get to them. You could trap the villagers in that cell. You have to make sure that the only thing between the villager and the zombie is a trapdoor, because if there is a full block here, he will not be able to reach the villager. This is a slightly more sophisticated system. We can see right here, everything looks normal except for the glass. I've just put the glass so we can see what's going on behind. But they are actually standing on sticky pistons with trapdoors on them, and there is a zombie behind there at that level of those. So once we drop these down, that zombie is actually going to be able to reach them. Looks like currently the zombie wants this one, so let's give him that one too. Now we do have a block there so that this villager or zombie villager can't get into that channel, but now we can raise this guy back up and he's ready to be converted. Or we have the method where you can send them via minecart over to another zombie that's waiting in order to zombificate them. Now again, once you have cured that zombie villager, the lower prices that he is going to give you are going to remain permanent, okay? He's still going to run out of stock of certain things and going to need to restock again at his workstation, but those prices will stay the same. After you do multiple trades of that item, so let's just say I kept buying bookshelves, he will eventually raise that price a little bit, but it will go back down eventually to stabilize at this 3 level. This will stabilize from the 4 to the 1, you know, 1 here, 1 here. So those prices will stabilize down. Over here we have the 13 different villager professions and have them leveled all up to master. This is, in my opinion, what their useful trades are at each of these professions and what workstation they use. Other people will have different ideas about what's more valuable to them, but it's also a matter of what you have available to you to actually do these trades as to what is valuable. This is the farmer. He uses a composter as his workstation. In my opinion, the best things to sell him are carrots and pumpkins. Pumpkins, if you get a pumpkin farm running and you zombificate the farmer, will buy 1 pumpkin for 1 emerald. And also after zombification, he will sell you golden carrots at 3 carrots for 1 emerald. Golden carrots being one of the best food sources in the game, and they're also renewable via these farmers. Here's an example of some available farmer trades on this farmer master that we have here. So these are things that he is selling, and these are things that he is buying. Here we have our butcher. In my opinion, not really anything useful you can get from the butcher, and really only useful to sell things to if you happen to have an excess of coal or an excess of raw chicken. The workstation that he will use is a smoker. Here's an example of some of his trades at the master level. Here we have the fisherman. Again, an example of some of his trades all the way up to the master level. He uses a barrel as his workstation, and again, in my opinion, nothing really useful to buy from him. And these things, string, raw cod, and raw salmon, are really only conditional if you have heavy sources for those things, because his trades for those actually are fairly expensive. As we see here, 15 cod for 1 emerald. Here we have our librarian. In my opinion, one of the most useful villagers in the game, simply because you can roll them to get the type of enchanted book you want, and it is a very easy way to get your enchantments that you cannot get on an enchanting table, such as mending, or if you're on an SMP and want to play some games, you can do Curse of Vanishing or Curse of Binding. Here's an example of what the librarian is offering at his master trade level. These books are always going to be completely random. It's always a complete random chance of what you're going to get each time he levels up. So if you're looking for something in specific, you're going to want to try and roll it in that novice level. The villager will also sell name tags, and that is, in my opinion, another very useful thing for when you want to name mobs. And we'll get into that a little bit when we get into the iron farm for villagers. So they use a lectern for their workstation. Some of their valuable purchases are paper and books. If you have a large source of bookshelves, say you went raiding in a woodland mansion, or you found yourself a stronghold that had a library in it, and you got all those bookshelves by a silk touch, you can then break those down into books. You can also buy, like I said, enchanted books from him, name tags, and also very useful to buy from them can be glass. You can get a very easily renewable source of glass this way without having to go out and dig up an entire desert. Here we have the armorer villager. Here's an example of his trades up at the master level. You'll notice he sells enchanted diamond gear. Up at these levels, it is always a random of what type of enchantments will be on this type of diamond gear, but we can purchase those diamond gear for just emeralds. Okay. The workstation that he uses is going to be a blast furnace. Also, if you have a really good iron farm up and running, he will buy iron for some of the armorer trades, but that diamond gear is going to be one of the most important purchases from them. Here we have the toolsmith. Again, an example of his trades at master level. You'll notice he will sell a diamond enchanted pickaxe and a diamond enchanted axe. Again, random enchantments that come on those. This right here, in my opinion, one of the worst trades in the game. In this case, he wants 7 diamonds for 1 emerald. Get out of here, man. But if you have a big project going on, these are the diamond tools that you can get from him. And if you re-roll them a few times, you can actually get some really nice enchants on, say, a pickaxe or shovels, if you want to just buy those and not have to dig for the diamonds to make all those tools. They will also buy iron, and a workstation they use is the smithing table. This is the shepherd villager. Here's an example of the trades that he has up to the master level. In my personal opinion, there are no trades that are useful from a shepherd. I'm just not even going to talk about that. He uses a loom for his workstation. Here we have the leather worker villager. Okay, his workstation is a cauldron. In my opinion, the only thing you can really do is if you have a cow farm up and running that's giving you a lot of extra leather, or say a hoglin farm up in the nether, you can sell leather to him. Otherwise, he will sell randomly colored leather armor. He'll also buy rabbit hides or flints. In my opinion, not very worth it. This is the cleric. In my opinion, another very valuable villager. And it's for the trades that he has. And you can see he's actually cycling through some of those awesome trades as we hold the emerald in front of him. So here's a listing of what a cleric at a master level can offer us. In this case, we don't actually see one of the really good trades, but we do have a few of them here. But inside this chest, you'll see, first of all, rotten flesh. If you have a zombie killing farm up, you can sell him rotten flesh. So finally giving a use to that rotten flesh. But the things you can buy from a cleric can be extremely valuable. You can buy redstone, lapis, whole glowstone, ender pearls, or bottles of enchanting. Now, bottles of enchanting, when you're working on getting your enchantments in an enchantment table, maybe not so useful. But when you're in the late game and you have mending and unbreaking on your elytra and you want to go out on some adventures, it can be really useful to have just a half stack of those bottles of enchanting in your ender chest, for example. You throw those on the ground and your elytra will be mended back up to full like that. So a very useful set of trades here. His workstation is going to be the brewing stand. This is the cartographer villager. Here's an example of some of his trades at the master level. In my opinion, not very useful in getting emeralds because you can sell paper, but you can also sell paper to librarians. However, it's usually useful to have one of these guys because they will sell maps. And some of those maps will actually be a woodland explorers map or an ocean explorers map. And what those are going to do is those are going to lead you to a woodland mansion where you can do a mansion raid, or to an ocean monument where you can do an ocean monument raid and get yourself some sponges. So this can actually be very useful to have one of these guys to help you find those if you don't have one of those close by in your world. This is the Fletcher villager. He uses the fletching table, and in my opinion, he can be valuable to sell sticks to. Sticks are easy to make, and he will buy sticks. Also, if you have a chicken farm up and running and you have a lot of those feathers, you can also sell those feathers to him. So here's an example of his trades at that level. As we can see, he buys sticks right off the bat. He will also sell enchanted bows. You have a random chance of what enchantment you're going to get on that bow. In my opinion, usually just better to either get the librarian villagers or go to the enchanting table for your bow. But he can be useful to sell those sticks to because sticks are easy to acquire. This is our weaponsmith villager. Here's an example of his trades. You'll notice once again, he is offering some diamond gear. This time it's an enchanted diamond axe and an enchanted diamond sword. Same with everything else. Those enchants are going to be random. But he will sell those random enchantments on an axe or a sword. He will also buy iron ingots. So again, if you have that iron farm up and running, this can be a good source of emeralds if you have the iron to spare. And his workstation is going to be a grindstone. And last but certainly not least, we have the mason villager. Okay. He also has a very good set of trades in my opinion because they will buy stone. And they will also buy these random other types of stone, granite, andesite, and diorite, based on their randomness from leveling up. So if you get yourself a mason who will buy granite, mason who will buy andesite, mason who will buy diorite, and you're someone like me who does not like those blocks, then you'll end up being able to have someone you can sell those to and convert those into emeralds. Also, more importantly, you'll notice down at the master level here, we have block of quartz. So if you're someone who likes to build with quartz, this can be a really easy source of getting those quartz block. You'll see it's a little expensive of 1 emerald for 1 block of quartz. However, we don't have to go into the nether and mine for that quartz and combine that to get there. If you're a redstoner, you can actually also get some glazed terracotta off of him. If you do not have a area close by where you can get some terracotta, or you don't have a really good source of clay, but you need some glazed terracotta for one of the slimestone builds you're working on, this can be a good option to get yourself some glazed terracotta. So his workstation is going to be the stone cutter. In my opinion, his good purchases are stone and these other types of stone, and his good sales are the glazed terracotta and the quartz blocks. So remember, that's just my preferred trades with villagers and what I think they're valuable for. On screen right now, I'm throwing up an infographic that was actually taken from their Wikipedia that you can use to reference the entire list of their available trades and what levels those trades are at. Again, this is really dependent on what types of resources you have available to you. So whatever you have an abundance of, or what you want to farm yourself or build farms to get in order to perform these trades. But as you can see by the graphic, they have a lot of different options for their trades. And so at certain levels, there's actually 3 options, but you only have a chance of getting 2 because they're only going to unlock 2 slots at each of those. So it's not always guaranteed that you're going to get a specific trade at a certain level. But those levels that you see on this infographic, those are guaranteed to be at least one of those trades. So again, this is really up to you and what you have available. Now you'll notice as I was going through these, some of them were actually raising their prices on me. Unlike that guy over there who lowered his prices for me. For example, over here, the toolsmith, he's actually raised his price on diamonds. So instead of only wanting 1 diamond for an emerald, he wants now 4 diamonds for an emerald. And the reason that is because this villager is angry with me. And that can happen one of 2 ways. So over here we have a setup to talk about angry villagers. And there are 2 ways in which they can become angry. Either by taking damage from you or by seeing you commit atrocities to another villager. Now we'll see that this villager right here, he's offering 26 potatoes for 1 emerald. If I punch him or attack him with any other weapon, he's now going to start raising his prices. So now bread is up to 3 emeralds, potatoes are up to 28. If I hit him again, he's going to raise his prices even more. And that's just going to continue. Okay. But you notice this guy hasn't changed his prices at all. He doesn't care. Okay. Over here, we have the same thing. If I was to punch one of these villagers, and then look, his prices has now been raised. However, this one still has not. They don't see attacking another villager as that atrocity. However, if I was to kill one, now both of these guys have seen me do that, and they're going to raise their prices significantly. However, over here in this setup, because they can't see each other, even though we as the player can see through the glass, the villagers cannot. If I was to come over here and kill this guy is none the wiser, and his prices are exactly the same. So if you're ever in a situation where you've got a villager that's just giving you a really bad set of trades, and you just need to reset that villager, you need to make sure you do it out of the line of sight from the other villagers. Otherwise, the rest of them are going to start giving you really bad prices. Next thing I want to cover is another very important use for villagers, and that is iron farming. Okay, so villagers, either when they gossip or get scared, will actually spawn a golem, an iron golem, and we can collect that golem and kill him in order to get iron out of him, and of course poppies, but who needs a poppy farm? Just a byproduct. So here we have the most basic design of an iron farm. And I'm just going to walk you through the mechanics of this, okay? So we have 3 villagers in beds, okay? And those villagers are creating a village center. And golems can spawn around a village center in a certain radius. Now, right now they're not scared because the zombie can't actually see them through the glass. So he's not aggroing on them. But eventually when we take out these blocks, what's going to happen is they're going to spawn a golem somewhere around here. That golem is going to see the zombie and want to attack the zombie. He's going to walk into this water, get pushed by the water into the lava pit. And then as we can see down here, we have hoppers right below the lava that will collect the iron, put it in this chest. Okay. And we can see just from the glass I have on the side here how that looks as we're using signs to keep up the lava. And he's going to fall through the lava. He's going to stand on these hoppers. When he dies, his drops are going to go to the hoppers and get collected in there. Now, golems have a certain radius around a village center that they can spawn, okay? They can spawn 16 by 16 by 6 around a village center. In this case, I'm just using the bell to establish that village center. But they can spawn plus or minus 7, 8 blocks on either side, okay? On the X and Z. And then they can spawn 3 below and 2 up on the Y. Okay, so this is basically a representation of their spawning area. So in this instance, all we're doing is we're just getting them to spawn on the ground, and then they're walking over towards that. All right, in more advanced versions that I'll show in just a moment, you're actually further controlling where they're going to spawn to kill them faster. And as we'll see in a moment, when I take these blocks out, what's going to happen is this blue line here is this zombie's line of sight. He's going to be able to see through these blocks up to the villagers, and their line of sight is going to meet. These villagers are going to panic, and then they're going to decide to spawn a golem to try and kill that zombie that's panicking them. Okay? So I'll take these blocks out. And there we had our golem spawn. As you can see, he's going to track on that zombie, walk in the water, and get pushed into that lava. And then all his iron is going to go into that chest that we've created. Now, one thing to remember is if you have these villagers, if you wanted to create multiple of these modules and you had them too close together, their golem cap is going to be combined. So they're still only going to be able to spawn one golem. So if you want to make multiple iron farms, you need to make sure they're actually spread out. So I'm going to review some different designs. So I'm just going to close this back up. So now we'll talk about this iron farm design here. This is much more compact and it's a little more controlled. Okay. So we still have the same setup here with the beds to create that village center. We have 3 villagers and 3 beds. And we have a zombie down here. Okay. Now, in this option, I still have a block here. It's going to give them the ability to break line of sight with that zombie occasionally. What happens is if they are in a constant panic state or they never get to lie down in a bed, they are going to reduce the rate at which they spawn golems. So another way that you can control this is cut off the zombie's line of sight by having him jumping in a cauldron or getting pushed up and down on a piston on a timer. In this case, we're not actually really too worried about those mechanics. I'm just going over the base iron golem spawning mechanics. So what we have here is, since we're so far off the ground, there's nowhere for him to spawn except on this little 3x3 platform right here. Okay, and as soon as he spawns in that 3x3 platform, he's going to spawn inside this lava. This lava being held up by these open fence gates. We have the water here to push away the iron that we collect from him, but we have these fence gates that are closed to keep the golem from falling off the edge. So he's going to die as soon as possible, and his drops are going to fall down there. Now, you would also want to put a collection system underneath this somehow, or maybe it's all going into a water stream and you have multiple modules of this. However you want to collect that up. But we'll see that once I take this block away and open this door, they're going to again make eye contact and start spawning golems up top. Notice how he started burning as soon as he spawned in, and then his drops are just going to fall off the side. As you can see, we have another golem spawning here, and this was pretty fast. This is only a couple minutes, but there are a few things that will actually affect how fast they can spawn golems. So one is, do they have the ability to break their panic? Okay, so being able to break their panic will reset their counter. Did they see the golem? Okay, so in this model here, we even see they would actually spot that golem, and that would increase their timer for the next golem. And then the next thing is, are there any golems within that village area? Okay, because there actually is a cap within a village of how many golems there can be. So the more golems there are in that area, the fewer that they're going to actually spawn, because it's going to slow down when it's trying to not hit that cap. So another option that you can do to actually kill golems is, and this is not necessary, this is if you want to start getting into, you have several modules and you want to really build up their efficiency, is to have them spawn in water and push them through another portal. So as soon as they go through that nether portal, they no longer count towards that cap. You will notice that on all these designs here, this one up here, and that one over there, golems don't have the same spawning rules as other mobs, okay? Other mobs cannot spawn inside of a water block. However, golems can. They don't care about that. They can spawn inside the lava, as we saw up there. They can spawn on that water block. They can spawn on glass. So that's why up here in this model, I've actually just put some string down on the glass. Okay, now these blocks would probably cut that off, but I just wanted to show having string on the glass. They cannot spawn on string, even though regular mobs can spawn on string. And of course, this design is just showing itself off more and more. Okay, yeah, we get it. We get it. You make iron. So we can see on this side of the nether, they just get pushed down here. Here's where you would have your lava and then your collection system, because as soon as they're taken out of that cap, they no longer fill that village's cap, and they can spawn new golems even quicker. Another thing you can note on iron golems is their hitbox size. Notice how much larger it is than the other mobs, okay? So their hitbox is actually wider than a standard block, okay? And it's also a lot taller. And we can use that to advantage in this model where we just have one piece of lava in the middle, and no matter where they're standing on this platform, they're going to be touching that lava. However, this can also be a disadvantage in some iron farm designs. If I come down here and I spawn a golem manually, okay, he still has the same hitbox, but you'll notice his size, okay? So he sticks out from those blocks. Now, we just talked about iron golem spawning and how they spawn. What's really, I guess, strange is if a golem is spawning in a block, he spawns at the center of that block. So his hitbox, and oh, yep, he just wants a piece of that zombie. Okay, we'll see you later, buddy. Yep, you'll be fine. Yeah, no, he's not fine. So they will spawn on the center of this block, and their hitbox is actually going to stick out on each side. Now, if you're using a design where, say, you only have just a really small platform up in the sky, okay, and then you wanted to put walls on the side of it, note that they have a chance of spawning on this block in the center, but part of their hitbox is going to be inside this wall. So I'm just going to manually spawn in a golem here to show you how that would actually look if you have such a small spawning platform. They're actually going to spawn inside that wall. And we can see here with the glass edge, oh, excuse me, how his hitbox is actually going through there because he spawned on the center of a block that was next to a wall. He has the ability to push through there. And occasionally they can actually get stuck in the wall then, okay? So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're using things like fences or fence gates to stop their moving into certain areas, because they don't have the same properties where they can get stuck in there like if you had another block like iron or stone or something like that. I hope this video was useful to you, and I hope you were able to learn something. We covered quite a few mechanics, from workstations and breeding to what their trades are and converting them, all the way up to iron farming, which in my opinion is super useful to get up early game. You can have a design as simple as that one in the background. You can see that one is still spitting out golems, and it's just super efficient. There are much more efficient versions of that. But this is just, again, a basics guide to kind of give people an idea of what kind of mechanics revolve around villagers. So, again, I hope this was helpful. I hope you've got something that you can do with this. And if you do something cool with this, please share it down in the comments. I'd be really interested to see it. And I will see you later. Have a good one. Bye.